I have to talk about sex addiction, love addiction. And the reason why I speak that or talk about that is because most highly sexual human beings, women or men, they are why they are, highly sexual, almost in an abnormal way. It's because of a past that they had as a child. They had sexual trauma. There is a question. Is sex a gift or is it a curse? There are human beings who are highly sexual. There are also other human beings who are not so sexual, or other human beings who are just plain asexual. There's a whole variety. So what are you? What are you? Are you sexual? Highly sexual? A lot of factors play into this. And I have to talk about sex addiction, love addiction. And the reason why I speak that or talk about that is because most highly sexual human beings, women or men, they are why they are, highly sexual, almost in an abnormal way. It's because of a past that they had as a child. They had sexual trauma. And it is just so unfortunate that such an experience affects them as a child and affects them as adults. I don't really want to go deep into that because then it will expose me, which I am not ready to do. But my therapist said that for people who are exposed to sexual trauma, two things can happen to them. 2 or 3 scenarios can happen to them. One scenario is they become so driven, and the other scenario is they are losers. They are underachievers. One scenario is that they're highly sexual. The other scenario is they are not sexual. And why that happens so, I have no idea. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, so I have an explanation for it. But it is interesting. It is interesting because that is so true, and I can say so by experience. In my case, I am an achiever. And thankfully, I was able to work around my past, that now I have conquered my demons. It is not so much that you suffer this trauma it is a lot that you suffer this trauma as a child, but it is up to you as an adult to be able to separate yourself from that trauma and heal yourself so that you can thrive and live a life that is fuller, live a life that is normal, live a life that is successful in whatever arena you choose. So that is sex addiction. There's also love addiction. All of these addictions, whether it is sex addiction, love addiction, substance abuse, alcoholism, gambling, these are all forms of addiction. And usually they stem from, again, your past. I'm not a psychologist to explain, but an addiction is an addiction. And like I said, I'm not a psychologist, but it is good to know that you have that history. Now, there is such a thing, there is such a philosophy. Nature or nurture? Is it nature that makes who you are, or is it nurture that makes who you are? Nature is genetics. Nurture is how you were nurtured when you were growing up. Did you have trauma or not? Did you have a normal childhood or not? Did you have a cold childhood while growing up? That is nurture. Or did you have a very loving family when you were growing up? That is nurture. Some people believe in one, another set of people believe in the other. I, for myself, I honestly believe that nature is stronger, and I have seen it in my family. My family, unfortunately, has a dark past. When I was featured on Shine on Hollywood magazine, they asked me to answer questions, but instead I wrote an 11-page essay talking about my life. They did not want me to tell the story because they said I wasn't big enough. I wasn't big enough, and if you're not big enough, you don't tell story of drama. Okay then, I just thought that the article that came out with that was frivolous. But at this point in my life, I don't really want to dig into the darkness of my family, but I have to say that my family has a history of alcoholism and substance abuse. And it was pretty deep for my aunt and my uncle. My aunt, someone said that I should not tell this story because it is a humiliation for my family. But I said, isn't it more important to help the world, to help people, than to hide the secret of your family? What for? My aunt was an alcoholic, and she died such an alcoholic that she had to be locked up. Otherwise, she would walk the streets naked. It wasn't so much because she wanted to be naked. She was just so out of it. My uncle was a very successful couture designer. At that time, there was no ready-to-wear. It wasn't that you would go to the mall and buy clothes. No, he would create a gown, an outfit for you, specifically for you. It was his time, and he was very successful. And one day, he just dropped everything and went home to the little town, which is where my grandma is. And I always wondered, I was so young at that time, why did he leave as such a lucrative career? I found out later that he left because he had a problem with substance abuse. And he saw his friend, and in the Philippines, houses there, well, this is a nipa hut. There are nipa huts over there. But for wealthier people or for buildings, they are made of concrete. And he saw a friend who was so high that he banged his head against the wall. He cracked his skull and he died. And my uncle had to leave because he did not want to have a fate like his friend. Fortunately, my grandma was pretty well off, so they lived off the wealth of my grandma. But they did waste their lives. All of this happened at the age of 40. So my family has always been aware of this background. We have always been aware. And that is why my family, my daughters, do not drink a drop of alcohol. I wouldn't say I don't drink a drop of alcohol now. Since I've traveled to Spain, I have come to love sangria, but only when I am entertaining. Because we are aware of that weakness. I've always asked myself, what is my addiction? Because that is the history. I did find out later what is my addiction. My addiction is something that I don't want to talk about, but it's definitely not substance abuse. Not that substance abuse is worse than the other. No. But what I'm trying to say here is that in relationships, and not all relationships, the relationship play in a certain way because he or she or both have an addiction. You may not be aware of it. Maybe it is minor, maybe it is minute, maybe it doesn't express itself so much, but that addiction contributes to the slow death of your relationship. And if it is not addressed, it's going to be the cause of the death of your relationship or the death of you. So is love addiction or sex addiction? Or is sex a curse or is sex a gift? a propensity for a high sexual expression, is that a gift or is it a curse? If it is an addiction, yes, it is a curse. It is a curse because it's something that will go out of control. It is a curse because it is something that will consume you. It is a curse because it is something where you may be forced to live a life. And I've seen this in the movies. You may be forced to live a life that you don't want to live. Or you don't realize that you don't really want to live that life. So it can be a curse. However, I believe that if you're not really addicted, you just have a high sexual drive, and you are with the right partner, then it is a gift. It is a gift. But if it is an addiction, even if you are with the right partner, it may still be a little bit difficult because you are driven by an addiction. That is not normal. Then it becomes a problem. It is darkness rather than light. But if you just have this very sexual humanity to yourself and you are with the right partner, then it is very much a gift and therefore you should embrace it. Whether there's a lot of people out there that are like that, I don't know. But I know it is out there. Same with love addiction. It is the same story. Anything that is an addiction is a curse. Oh, look at that. That's so nice. Aww. So pretty. Look at that. That's so nice. What do you think? You like it? You like it? I'm going to crop it so that that's not going to show. Cut that.